If you're from Australia and you've ever even thought about TV, he needs absolutely zero introduction. He's one of the most recognised faces on Australian television, with a career ranging from the host of the iconic Australian Idol all the way to handing out roses on The Bachelor, and now unmasking singers. 3 name changes, including Spidey, a powerful podcast, a best-selling book, and you can imagine my surprise when I found out that he is a fan of dank memes. Not just a chiseled jaw, he's also married his makeup artist, now has 2 children, the youngest of whom is only 4 weeks old, 2 dogs, 2 podcasts a week, and somehow has found 2 minutes to talk shit with me. I'm talking about none other than Osher Günsberg. Osher, welcome to Bad Portraits.
Cam, I'm thrilled to be here.
Honestly,
I really, really am. You forgot the part about the best-selling book, which also had a nationally sold-out live show, of which you made the intro video for.
I'm very proud of that.
I am too.
Yeah. I thought that was such a funny... Of all the requests to get in an inbox when you're a freelancer, that was probably up there with my most talked about.
Well, it was because like I did a live, and my book basically was a memoir. I wrote it when I was 44. It's a halftime report, right?
Right.
So I was like, I talk about some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
All right. And you don't want to just be laying that on people without them knowing. All right. And so they bought a ticket to the show. Hey, it's the guy from the telly. Like they might just think, oh, Bachelor, let's go see it.
Yeah, seen him
and
on
they're
the bus
like,
stop.
I'm about to talk about some really heavy stuff involving, suicidal ideation, childhood sexual abuse, We could have gone one way or the other. We could have gone Robbie McGregor, who's a voiceover artist, the guy that goes, SBS would like to advise. That's Robbie McGregor. He's amazing. We could have done that, but then we thought, you know what, let's do a song. Let's do a trigger warning song. And then Zoe Norton-Lodge, who's amazing, who works with The Chaser. She's one of the Chaser crew. She's an unbelievable woman. She co-wrote the show and directed the show for me. She's like, no, we should do a warning song and do it like the Andrews Sisters. And if you don't fucking like it, turn off your fucking phone. And then I called Mike Mills, who's also known as Toe Hider. He's an incredible prog metal guy. And I said, mate, can you do this? These are the lyrics, and make it sound like the Andrews Sisters. Literally 6 hours later, I got back what I sent you. He goes, how's this? That's it. And then I emailed you, and you made this extraordinary fucking weird video for me, and it was brilliant.
Well, man, it was amazing. And I kind of want to start the interview on that note. So funny that you mentioned music, something that really came out in that live show, and something that comes out when, I follow you on Instagram, and even comes out when I dug up your old blog from the early 2000s.
How did you find that?
Oh, man.
Channel V one?
I'll get to that later.
Whoa!
But yeah. I've got some amazing quotes from it.
Whoa.
But something that keeps coming out time and time again is your love for music.
Yeah.
You've got love for bands like Jane's Addiction, Metallica, obviously, The Darkness, even is it Underworld? Born Slippy Underworld?
Yeah.
When I was reading in the early 2000s. But the thing that really sort of took me like a truck on a highway to a young deer was the fact that the only band that you've ever booked flights in a hotel for is the long-haired 90s boy band Hanson.
Yeah.
Osher, my first question.
Yeah.
Why do you love Hanson so much?
So you're about to get really woke.
Wow.
You like to think you're woke?
Maybe.
Look at the tats.
Hey.
You feel it says I'm woke. You walk down the street, people go, that's a woke motherfucker.
Hey, man.
You're about to wake right up. You're going to
Whoa.
get bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You're about to get international roast 2 scoops.
Turns out I'm sleeping, Osher. Tell me why.
Hanson are they are like the sun made a record, okay? Hanson's second album on.
Is that Middle of Nowhere?
After that one.
Right.
Once they got themselves out of their kind of, we are pigeonholed you now, just make make lots of umbop.
Yeah.
No, that's not what we do. Their second album is unfucking believable, right? From there on. And they just keep going and going and going and going and going. And they just, what other band who was a superstar in 1997 is still selling out the Opera House 22 years later for multiple nights, which they did this year, all right? And like tickets you can't buy because it's just like gone in 20 minutes. This is Hanson. They're just incredible. They are just such lovely guys. They write fantastic pop music. They write just like a perfect pancake breakfast, okay? When you wake up in the morning and someone goes, I'm going to make this pancake breakfast for you, and it's got just the right amount of maple syrup, and just the right amount of berries, and just the right amount of cream. You go, man, that is a perfect breakfast. Those are the kind of songs they make. There's not too much of anything. It's like, that's a hook, man. That's a melody. That's something I'll always sing. They're amazing, mate. They're amazing. Give it a listen. Get in, and you'll just be like, oh, all right, how'd I miss this?
All right, I'm woke now.
Yeah.
So you've sort of come out with this kind of musical education.
Yeah.
Obviously, your childhood
Yeah.
through thick and thin was quite tumultuous.
Yeah, but the music, my dad, like most people explore their parents' record collection. This is back
Yeah.
in the olden days when, before we had phones, we had things called CDs. And before we had CDs, we had things called records. And
No
they
way.
They were big and black. Yeah, they were made of petrol. Because in the oil crisis, if you buy records from the oil crisis, they're really thin because they didn't have enough oil to make them.
But you can start your car with them.
Yeah, it's true. And so when people would drop a needle on the record at my friends' houses, there would be like Beatles records or Led Zeppelin records or Bananarama or whatever was popular at the time. Our house had Miles Davis, Stockhausen, John Cage, Stravinsky. You know, that was the records that we were growing up listening to. And so I just thought that's what music was. And I would put on... You know, if you don't know who Karen Stockhausen is, he's a German modern, concrete music was what he called it. It was like basically very early experiments with oscillators, very early electronic music.
True.
All right, so it would literally, you put the needle on the record and you hear, and then because it was a live recording.
And what's young Osher thinking when he puts this on?
This is what music is.
This is it.
This is music.
Anything other than this is just a strange
And so that's where I
distraction.
started. You know, I started with that, and then pop music showed up when I was about 8 or 9. I learned how to use the radio, and I was like, oh, what's Take 40 Australia? Barry Bissell's Take 40 Australia. It was a countdown show. And I remember turning on the radio and listening to Let's Go Crazy from Prince and going, what is this? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. This guitar solo goes forever.
They've used the oscillators with other instruments.
Mate. And that was it. And then I was kind of locked in. I was very much like a bond hard to the first thing I'm exposed to. And so that was Prince for life from there. and then later on in 2005, it was this extraordinary moment where Barry Bissell handed the reins of Take 40 over to me, and I hosted Take 40 for a couple of years, which was bananas to host a radio show that you grew up loving pop music on. And I did that for 4 years.
What was it like when you got? Was it a phone call or was it?
Yeah, it was a phone call. Yeah, it was a phone call.
And what were you thinking when you were on the other end of that phone call, hearing that you're going to take over this show that you held on a pedestal?
Like most things you've clearly made a mistake, so I don't deserve this. No, this doesn't belong to me.
You must be thinking of someone with talent.
Yeah, I struggled with worthlessness for quite a long time. I was still drinking at the time. I got sober in 2010. So before that, I totally believed that someone would show up in a taxi and go, sorry. This is Aaron Ginsberg. He's got your life. You come with me. You drive trucks for the shipping company. Great job. Solid hours, but that's your job. Off you go. Oh, of course. Now it all makes sense.
Gosh, that's such an accurate description. Do you remember the first time that you felt like your commercial success was outpacing you emotionally?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was it back in...
It was when I was in radio. It was when I was in radio. And most definitely, I think most intensely was when I first got my first big break in radio was at SAFM, where I got a job in the daytime because I was doing the overnight shift at B105, which is now Hit FM. Yeah. They're all hit now. So midnight to 6. And you basically have to wait for a daytime presenter to die if you want to get it, because you just don't get... I'm working the overnight shift. Like all my friends are in the UK, just like, man, pills are £4 each. It's amazing.
Oh, they love the pricing.
And I'm like, hey, here's a Bryan Adams song, But that's what I did for 5 years. That's what I did. Anyway, I got this job at SAFM, and I was quite an awkward person, and I was very weird around strangers, and I didn't quite know how to treat women for a long time, just because of how I grew up. And I remember this particular meeting where we were sitting at a big boardroom table, and it was a big boardroom like this, and the head of marketing, promos or whatever, I can't remember, suggested a particular survey, radio survey tactic. Oh, we should do this. And I just shut it down. That's so 80s. Don't do that. No one cares about that. And I remember afterwards, the boss basically took me aside and said, oh, mate, if you ever have ideas like that again, just tell them to me. Tell them to me. Because it was only years later that I realised oh fuck, I was completely like I didn't have the social skills to deal with that situation. I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'd shut this. She'd been there for 20 years. She's the head of the department, and I've been there for a week and a half, and I'm basically just shitting on her in front of all of her underlings, and she's a head of department. And I was like,
straight for the jugular of insecurity as well, going for the age. That's
Yeah,
so 80s.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And she had been there since then.
Brutal.
I had no idea. And it was only years later, I was like, oh, fuck. So, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I learned. I had to, but yeah, that was early on. And then I didn't learn. So, yeah, I remember like all through that time of Idol and when things were just bonkers. Not really having the emotional ability to understand what was going on.
So during Idol, obviously, I mean, you've got lots of trauma and things that are going on in your past that you want to regulate from and understand. And how did you balance having a career which was going stratospheric and a drug habit?
By drug habit, my favorite drug was alcohol, which is
I call them all the same.
Still Australia's most widely used and destructive drug. Devastating on our community and our society because it's the use of it's unregulated. I still can't believe that we can't allow pill testing at a festival. I can't believe that we will not allow pill testing at a festival because, like, well, what does that give a green light to? It's like, I can walk into a bottle shop and buy enough vodka to kill me right now, but you don't stop me. So you talk to me about, what the fuck? You want to, like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, if you could tax pills, you'd test them.
It makes no sense that we are allowing this drug, which is so deadly, just for sale. Go and get as much as you want.
And the fact that it's not plain packaged, I think is quite strange and just widely advertised. I think we'll look back on this era with just a lot of confusion.
I concur. So alcohol is a very, very widely available, socially acceptable, and self-prescribed and self-administered drug that people take for treating a wide variety of mental illnesses. And I most definitely started using it like that. Unfortunately, the problem with alcohol, it's one of those drugs that the dosage that you need to get the same effect becomes higher and higher and higher and higher. And over a period of time, that dosage for me became completely unmanageable. But I gave it a fucking good nudge. And I'm lucky to be here because it was grim. It was grim for a while there. Yeah.
At what point did you say enough?
Like most alcoholics, I said enough
1,000
times. Heaps of times. I reckon probably as early as probably before I even turned 18.
Yeah.
I remember waking up going, I can't do this. Or being in the middle of, like, having one of those moments of about 8 or 10 seconds long where you're holding on to something, just vomiting through every outport of your body and just going, this is horrible. I'm so afraid. I don't know what's going on. I'm so scared. And then suddenly you're at someone else's house and you don't know what's going on. But I think definitely... Yeah, like many people, I tried to stop. I tried to stop many, 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 many times. And certainly in the last few years, I tried to stop. And given it, I'd do it 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks. I think 6 weeks was my record. But then like a duck to water, like
so hard,
like back into it, like I'd never stopped.
But the actual sobriety, because you're sober now.
Yeah, but the final night was no bigger or smaller than any other night.
Isn't that interesting? I've heard that from many alcoholics.
Yeah. It was just another night of me doing the same fucking thing. But I'd come to realize that no matter what I did, no matter what I tried, no matter how many different ways I tried to behave, it was inevitable that the same thing was going to happen. It was like I was on tram tracks and there was nothing different was going to happen. Every single thing, every time was the same. I'd take one sip of whatever it was, no matter how many, the problem was last time I finished with tequila. This time I'll start with tequila. That will solve everything. I'm drinking red wine because I'm classy.
Yeah,
look at this. It cost me $52 a bottle. It was grown in the Yarra Vale or whatever. same thing would happen every time. Someone would be angry, someone would be crying. I wouldn't remember a fucking thing that had happened, you know, and I'd just, you know, been disgusting to people that cared about me and disgusting to strangers. And every single time it happened, every time. And then the blackout part of the night started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'll be like, I know there was an argument last night.
Oh, no.
I don't remember any of it. So who was arguing? Where was that argument coming from? What part of my psyche was saying what? Because it wasn't me. That's the some weird shit. So that started to happen more and more and more. And then one morning I just woke up after it was in New York City, and I was like, I just can't do that again. And I told my ex-wife, she was my wife at the time, and she's my ex for, you know, very good reason, because of my behavior. I said, I can't do that again. And she had no reason to believe me, because I told her that probably 167 times before that. So she's like, okay. And then all I wanted to do was have a drink. All I wanted to do was have a drink, but I just wanted to not have what happened the night before happen just 0.001% more. And that was it. I'm like, I know I can't ever do that again. And I had to trick myself into it, because the whole, I'd identified so much as someone who would go out and drink.
I know.
And that was just, you know, the thing, you know, and that was I just couldn't imagine life without alcohol. It was like if you had come to my house and I blindfolded you, and I was like, no, come and meet the kids, right? And then I blindfolded you, and then got you to the house and said, now tell me about the cars you saw that were on the street outside. You're like, I know they're there. I know there are cars on your street, because we live in a modern society. There will be cars out there, but I can't picture what that would be like. I can't imagine. But I knew I could live with alcohol, but I just couldn't picture it. I couldn't, like. So anyway, I had to trick that whole thing was too gargantuan to dare. So I wrote down in my little book, like, until I can have a healthy relationship with alcohol, I'm just not going to drink for a while. That was my way of, you know, it was if you've got a massive pile of dishes, I'm just going to wash one. I'll just wash one. And then you're like, I'm here. Yeah. I'll keep going. Same.
Doing.
I tricked myself into it. And so because I couldn't take that whole step of I can never drink again. I was like, until I can have a healthy relationship with this. But it didn't take long. It's about 6 weeks that I was like, I can never do that again. I can't ever do that again, because I could see, the way I would describe it to you, Cam, is if I had a peanut allergy, all right, the tiniest amount of peanut in my body would cause a physical reaction that could kill me, all right? My throat would swell up, an anaphylactic reaction could possibly kill me. So I have to be very, very careful not to have any peanut, because any of it will set off a chain reaction of events that I can't stop. Same with alcohol. If I have the tiniest amount, like even like homebrew kombucha, I can't have it, because it's like 0.05 in there. There's enough of that it goes and just tickles me on the nipple, and I'm like, oh. And I remember I had it once. I was at my friend's house, and his wife had brewed kombucha. And brewing kombucha is fucking hard to do, all right? And people, they present it like, oh, it's the sacred chalice. It took me weeks. Have some. And I had it, and I just like held the table with my fingernails in it. It's like, what's going on? Like, please don't let me leave. Don't let me do anything, because I could feel it. Feel a monster inside me roaring up. I'm like, so I have to be really careful about that stuff. But that's how I would describe it to you. Just the tiniest amount is enough to set off a physical and emotional reaction in my body that changes how I feel about things, what I think is right and wrong, how I treat others. You know, it transforms who I am. And I don't like that person at all. And I don't even know who that person is sometimes. And I'd rather be this one. So that's why. That's a long answer to a short question.
I think it's a powerful answer. And I guess that leads me to my final question before we start drawing is, so this person that you are now, I mean, you've even signified it with changing your name. What do you think Osher Günsberg would say to a young, drunk Andy G?
Fuck me. Just fucking, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right, mate. Just don't drink so much and be kinder to people. That's it. Like, you really are going to be all right. There's other better drugs that you can take. I'm medicated now. I was off meds for 1.5 years. My story is that I got quite sick. I ended up having episodes of psychosis that manifested as paranoid delusions. I needed to be on 2 separate kinds of antipsychotic, an SSRI and an aminoketone, and I was on a lot of drugs for a long time. And then I slowly came off everything, and I was off for about 1.5 years. And after we got pregnant, it's weird how couples say that. I didn't get pregnant. My wife got pregnant. After my wife got pregnant, the gravity of the situation was starting to build, and I started to lose. I had my hand on the side of the pool. Everything is sweet, and then I had to tread water just to keep my head up. And then about June or July, I started to lose my ability to keep breathing. And she just took one look at me and goes, I'm going to need you around, man. I'm going to need you around. So go talk to your doctor, get back on meds. And I'm smart enough to know, right, because I know enough that I can't think myself out of a problem with the same brain that got myself into the problem. It's a lot like trying to bite your own teeth. And so if someone I really, really trust is identifying, because my brain will tell me, no, I'm fine. It's like, but that's my brain. It's part of the illness. That's the thing with alcoholism. It's the number one symptom of alcoholism. The number one symptom of alcoholism is convincing you that you don't have it. Right? It's the climate change denial of your soul, basically. Like, no, this can't possibly be real. Evidence to the contrary. I don't care. Don't worry about that. World is on fire. No! Like, it happens inside your head. So you have to just accept, okay. But I trust Audrey enough and to know that, okay, you got it. And I went so my doctor, who's right up the road, and so I'm back on meds right now. So what I would say to drinking Andrew G would be, you have and you were born with and live with a mental illness that sometimes needs medication. There's much better, healthier medication to be on than alcohol. So go and do the right thing and get on it, because it's good for you, it's good for your family, it's good for the people around you, because this ends one way and one way only. That's what I'd say to that, man. We can try and convince ourselves that it's not going to end up that way for us, but I'm here to fucking tell you, I'm not a special snowflake. No. I am on a set of train tracks. Yeah. And we choose, like at what point do we get off? Because it's only going to end one way. There is no other ending for us.
That's so true.
That's it.
Man, I applaud your honesty with yourself.
Well, I've got to, man, because it was listening to, like I told you, I'd had to have hope that I could live life with alcohol, right? And that I could live life with, a brain that's different, with, living with obsessive compulsive disorder and knowing that psychosis is waiting for me if I don't take care of myself. But it was in listening to other people that had gotten healthy and other people who had gotten sober and going, well, if that's what your life looks like, I mean...
It creates a reality for you, because I think if you've only ever seen people with addiction, or if you've grown up perhaps with parents with addiction, then you just know that bad vices are, you know inherently, even if it isn't correctly true, that bad vices are the way that you deal with things. Yeah. And until you see, at least in my experience, somebody who is sober, it's
I needed to see that. I need to see that. In the book, I called him Glenn. It's not his real name. No. But the first person I met who was like proper sober, and he looks like, he's a photographer. He's taller than me. He looks like a real life Tom of Finland. Do you know Tom of Finland? I don't. Tom of Finland is extraordinary. You'd dig it. He's Tom of Finland was like the sort of 70s, 80s. He was an artist that drew essentially the cartoon perfect Leatherman gay man. All right. Just massive chest, beautiful chin, huge moustache, massive dick, just boom, 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 forearms, tattoos, leather hat. And that's what Tom of Finland, like the kind of doodle you would make, is like, this is my dream fantasy. Yeah. What it looks like.
He's a hunk.
Yeah, total. And I met this guy. I was like, "Fuck, you're a walking Tom of Finland. This is like a real thing. There'd be your real life in front of me." He's a photographer and a very successful one. Beautiful tattoos, glorious, life of the party, sober. I'm like, I'd never seen sobriety look like that. And he's gay as Christmas and amazing. And I'd never seen sobriety look like that. Like, far out. And we were in this big room full of people. Like, look at you. You're handling yourself. You're talking to strangers. you're successful, your life's amazing. I didn't know that that's what sobriety could look like. I thought sobriety was sad people sitting on folding chairs under a church,
Same.
which I've done, and sometimes it is, and that's fine. You got to go there. And I was like, all right. And I called him up a couple of weeks later. And I was like, man, I know that you go to meetings. Can I come? And he said, sure, man, come with me. And that was it. That's how I got help. And it was hearing those stories that I realized that there would be hope that I could do it one day. And so when I talk about it, it's like, I'm just trying to give people what I heard, you know, because I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that it could be true. I've got 4 primetime TV shows on in 1 year. I've had a best-selling book, a national tour. We just had the birth of a kid. We just bought a house. I was unemployed before I got Bachelor, paying rent out of my savings in a foreign country. All right? Like, let that sink in. Okay? That's all right? You want to tell me sobriety is boring? Watch me walk out on Masked Singer. I'm in a fucking head-to-toe gold suit with dancers and pyro. Like, that's my life. And it's unfucking believable. And I can feel it now. I'm not numb to it. I'm not afraid of it. And it's incredible. And I'm really, really, really grateful for it. But it was not going to be that. It was well and truly not. It was not going to be that.
Man, thank you so much. That was so beautifully articulated. Well, I think it's probably about time that we start pressing ourselves creatively and try to draw.
Mate, a draw with you is so... I'm so scared.
So the drawing segment, I'll hand you this. I'll take myself one of these. How you feeling, by the way?
I'm pretty intimidated to draw next to someone like you. You are an exceptional artist who has so many techniques at his disposal. I can only draw you in one style.
Well, let me get out some pens.
Hello, boys.
Let me get a timer out. I reckon we'll go for 3 minutes to see what we can
Did you
draw.
say 3?
Oh, how much do you want?
What did you say? You said 3?
I said 3.
God damn it.
Let's draw quick. No time
Hang on
like
a
the
sec.
present.
Stand by.
All right, I can give you a pen. I can recommend you one if you
Yeah,
want.
please hit me.
Yeah.
Hang on a sec. I've got to get
Yeah.
you right here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Oh, Osher, that is time. How'd you go?
We're going to reveal.
Hell yes. Do you want to tell me about your artwork?
Um,
You're good. You're good. Hold it up. Yeehaw.
I tried. I tried hard. I got the real wise. Hands are really hard to draw. If you've never tried to draw hands are the hardest. This is why cartoon characters usually always have gloves on.
All 4 fingers.
All 4 fingers, because thumbs. Very, very, very
Pesky
difficult,
little things.
Very difficult thing to draw, and what a lot of people don't realize is how expressive a hand is. And if you draw a hand wrong, it'll fuck up anything that you've done to get an eye right. Will be just offset by the hand.
Yeah, it's the eyebrows of the arm.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's why hands are always out of frame, and any good photographer will make sure the hand is in the frame because it tells you more about if the face is stoic and the hand is doing this. You'll know what the person's feeling. The hand is the tell. It's the real tell, and that's why.
What an insight! And that's
It's
why
true
yours
though.
is
You know who
scribbles.
taught me that? Yumi Steins taught me that.
Ah,
She said, if you want to take a good photo of someone, make sure their hands are in it. But
My
anyway,
goodness,
I tried
and
my
yeah,
hardest.
my hands there.
Yeah.
Scribble and scribble back.
Scribble hands.
Scribble hands.
Scribble hands. Got the mic in there. Got your excellent gold chain. I didn't put the logo in there because Naomi Klein would kill us both. Double logo is going to Guess Jeans and an Adidas. I don't know what to do here.
Oh, whoops.
Got the Walter Whites there. I did my best.
Fantastic. Well, here's my Osher, which,
Yeah.
as we can see, I've sort of gone for the chiseled jaw. I've gone for the red frames. You can't really see. I tried to get them in. I went frosted tips.
I love it.
A la 2003.
Love it.
And then I just figured a nice cartoonish rose for the ladies.
That's extraordinary. Look at you. That's like proper. That's like a proper Struceless. Legit.
Only done in 3 minutes instead of 30.
So it's still pretty amazing. Oh, what an honor.
Oh, man. Well, I think I'll just leave all these pens here because I kind of like how it looks.
I'm going to sign this for you.
Oh, fantastic. I'll sign this one for you.
And it'll be like 1-1. Look at that.
All right. So this
You're our only hope, Cam.
Yeah.
You're our only hope.
My only
It's
hope.
through your memes. I was speaking with Peter Drew yesterday. Peter Drew, who did the Real Aussies Say Welcome posters
Oh,
and
of course,
Mongo
of course.
Khan
Yeah, they're
posters.
beautiful, yeah.
Extraordinary guy.
Yeah.
And it's through the power of a meme, like a meme that you make. A meme can transcend a political and cultural line, because by the time you've seen this, it can be as simple as one picture and one word. Like in his, it's just a photo of Monga Khan and Aussie. It can change. It can get in there before anyone's had a chance to go, oh, some lefty told me that, so therefore I don't believe it. No, it just, boom, it's in your head. Oh, how did that get in there? Fuck. So someone like you is going to be the instrumental in saving us all from burning and dying under seawater, because you have the ability to create a piece of art that someone can share with their father or grandfather, grandmother, people who go, that's not real, and they go, I don't know, or maybe there's something there. And I speak too much. You, boom, I'm telling you, mate.
I think
it's on your shoulders, Cam.
I accept this responsibility to
all.
save the earth as the second coming of Jesus. I think the power of memes comes in the fact that ideas need to be well expressed in order to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get anything, any kind of information anywhere, it has to be articulated well. And I think that's what memes are. It's just well articulated information.
I sent your drinking, drugging domino one to my guy that helps me leads my way in sobriety.
True.
And he was like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Domino 3, that's the one.
Yeah,
Domino
is.
3, that's the one.
Having a think.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Well, speaking of things online, I've got this segment of the interview that I want to do called Further Explanation, where I dig up some things that maybe you've done online or in the past that I just think warrant a little bit of further explanation.
Good Lord.
So, buckle your seatbelts, Osher. I might take a little sip. Osher Ginsberg.
Go.
On January 21st, 2004, you wrote in your blog, which I found using the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you've ever used the Wayback Machine.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway, so I found your old blog posts from 2003 and 4 when you were in the early days of Idol, and there's a lot of stuff about all the V people coming to see you play bass, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and I remember reading it, and you're so excited about them seeing a different side of you. But there's one thing that you wrote, that Gold Coast Big Day Out was so hot, and that you learnt a few things. Firstly, don't wear thongs. Secondly, you love the Gold Coast so much. And thirdly, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas is, and I quote, so frickin' hot.
She was. 2004 Fergie.
Oofed.
Smoking.
Huge, man. That's puberty for me.
That was like, I remember the moment. Like, so that was a interesting summer. Idol had been over for 7 weeks, I think. Idol finished at the end of November, and it was 1 in 4 adult Australians watched that first finale. So you can imagine what being in public.
I watched it.
Well, you imagine what being in public was like. And so then we're at the big Gold Coast Big Day Out doing Channel V, right, live for 5 hours or something we did. And because we were working with Channel V, it was bananas the access we had. So we had basically AAA access, and so what people don't realise is backstage at a nasty festival where everyone else is dealing with horrible portaloos and mud and sweat and disgustingness and long beer queues, there's this palace backstage of this beautiful area and the only excellent thing that happens backstage is toilets without a queue, free water and catering, which is amazing. So I'm sitting there having a meal, my meal, because we had a break from shooting. And so I was sitting there having my meal, and Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas sits down, and she had been in a band called Wild Awkward, which were the greatest female girl group, aside from Sisters with Voices. And if you haven't heard Sisters with Voices, welcome. You can get that Anne Hansen for the day. I go weak at the knees every time slow jam like you don't believe. Anyway. And she sat down next to me. Hi. She's beautiful and stunning, and she walks with the aura of a star.
Of course.
And she was so freaking hot. I didn't quite, and I was trying to do my best. This is at a time in my life where I would go, similarly to you, I would wear a trucker hat everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But I had it pulled down super low, so I didn't have to look at people. Because I was
revealing my secrets, Osher.
As yet undiagnosed social anxiety.
Once again, revealing my secrets.
Right. Which is funny. The doctor that diagnosed me is literally 65 meters behind me. His office is right there.
Huh.
And
I'll check it out after.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And so I had my little hat down like this, and I'd be like,
nope.
And she was like, oh yeah, did your thing, the Channel V, yeah. It was good to see you. thanks, Fergie. Eating, because you're backstage the big day out. You're dealing with artists, so I'm eating this incredible vegan spread. It's amazing. Anyway.
Dang, all right.
What else did you find from that terrifying time of my life?
Okay, I've got one more from the blog this one's probably not so much positive. So you said August the 4th, so fast forwarding.
Same year?
Yep, same year, 2004. I love my job. I love it. I get paid to talk about music and engage people about their musical passions. I didn't just arrive here. It's my 10th year in broadcasting this year. Cool, huh? That's 10 years of 6 and 7 day weeks, but crikey, I love it. I realize that when you put yourself on the telly and the radio, some people will like what you do and others won't. That's fine with me. There's heaps of people in the public eye that I don't approve of, that I approve of and that I disapprove of. I realize that sometimes those people that who don't like what I do will come up to my face and let me know. And that's cool. It's part of my job. Saturday night was a rough one. I was at the pub and a few folks weren't backward in coming forward and telling me how much of a cunt I am. What was that like in the early days? Because that must be messed up.
It is pretty weird. And I would just it was odd. And I would drink to insulate myself from it.
Of course.
Because I wanted to see my friends. I wanted to go out like anybody. I was
like a normal
30,
human.
29, 30 years old at the time. And, you know, it was only later I learned to recognize the setup. Okay, so what it would be is there would be someone sitting, well, there's some other people in the room, right? So that camera right there, hey Mac. Someone would kind of like be over there filming.
Oh, God.
And then someone would walk up and go, "You're a fucking cunt, and I fucking hate. You're a fucking piece of shit, you fucking shit cunt." And I'd be like holding my beer like going, "All right, man, you got it." And because they were filming and they wanted to, you know, you could see it in the corner eye because the body language, like drunk guys can't hide the fact that they're telegraphing it. So you can see it and it's coming over. Here we go. You can see them nudging each other, going, "Watch this, watch this."
Yeah.
And I wear hearing aids now, but I couldn't hear very well. It took me too long to get hearing aids. I was already quite deaf. And so what I would do, I'd be like, "Sorry, mate, what'd you say?" "Oh, so I can't hear very well. I've been playing radio for way too long. What'd you say?" "I said, you're a fucking..." "No, this year. This is the one that's working." "Say, sorry." And I'd grab their arm and hold them and say, "Sorry, man." No, just gently. So, "Oh, what did you say, man?" Like, "Oh, sorry, I can't hear what you're trying to say to me." What you trying to say to me? And they go, "Oh, no. Oh, I'm at the time, I'm Andrew. What's your name?" "Darren." "Oh, Darren, what are you doing? You here with some mates? What's going on tonight?" "Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I'm just here with my friends. DJ's great." Yeah, all right. But like that's how I would try to diffuse it.
That's fantastic.
You know?
Yeah.
But that would happen all the time. People would walk up to me, like people would come up behind me and literally just grab my head and pull my hair like that because they were convinced it was a wig.
Oh, of course.
And they would, grab me and I was terrified. Like I had social anxiety. I had social phobia. I was terrified of being in public. And
that makes a lot of sense.
And generally, and then to put this on top of it, it was quite difficult. But at least, these are people who had the balls to actually come and say it to my face. Because, now...
You got the internet.
Yeah, but I don't give a fucking shit.
No, fuck
If you write something about me on the internet, then good for you, pal.
Yeah, well done.
Away you go.
Well
you
done.
know what? You know what you've done? You've given yourself a resentment that will morph into cancer.
Yeah.
I am going to have a lovely evening with my family.
Absolutely. I've read 6 bad things about me today already. All right, and then I think my final thing.
Oh yeah, golden.
I want to talk about
golden.
This photo right here.
Oh yeah, that was a really interesting time in my life.
So moody.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm, all I did ever was play music and play bass. That was all I ever did until I moved to Adelaide. And that picture was taken in a borrowed suit. It's my friend Damien's suit. That's my Washburn bass, which got stolen with a mate in JB4, serial number S93. If anyone around you plays a fretless Maton bass, serial number S93, got stolen from me at Wollongabba Hotel.
You heard it here.
I'll have it back, please.
Find Dosh's bass.
I'll buy it off you. I will buy it off you. It was the most beautiful instrument. Anyway, I was working in a nightclub, interning basically at a nightclub at the time, running a light show, learning how to run light rigs. And I'd been really fat my whole life. All right. So I topped out at 112 kilos when I was 17. And I just started to jog, started to run, and started to lose a lot of weight. And I hadn't cut my hair since high school. And this girl that was at the club all the time said, "Oh, a friend of mine, she's a photography student and she needs to do something for a project. Can she take photos of you? I'm like, all right. I had complete body dysmorphia. If you look, the suit is 3 sizes too big for me.
It is.
I would not wear clothes that were would show my body shape.
Wow.
And I was so skinny at this point. I was like, I dropped 20 kilos in like 4 months or something huge. Like I was 19, I think. And it was the first time that I'd ever been the subject of someone going, oh no, you're a good looking guy. You should take your hair off your face. And I'd never, ever experienced that. And there's the photos from that day. And it was pretty wild.
That's so empowering.
It took me a long time to accept it.
It does. Yeah, I think positivity is a lot harder to accept than negativity sometimes. I put up a poll to get some questions from the lovely people.
On the Instagram story.
On the Instagram story.
Look at you using the social media.
Look at me.
Yeah. And what did it say?
I got hundreds of responses.
Oh, really?
Yep.
All right. And so hit me. What have we got?
Mm-hmm. Sick. Waiting for the photo, baby. All right. So, Ads Lincoln asks, when are you bringing back the frosted mop, bruh?
Well, to be fair, Lincoln, and even though he's drawn me with it twice, I never had frosted tips.
I know.
I only ever had full heads of foils, like an idiot. Yeah.
The full
So,
bleach blonde.
and because I want to stay married and employed, never.
Take that. All right. KT Leptic, I'm using people's usernames here, says, would you rather have legs as short as your arms or arms the same length as your legs?
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Katie. I'd really appreciate. I would rather love long arms.
It'd be awesome. Imagine rock climbing.
Oh.
Why would you want to impair yourself with tiny little legs?
It's getting, just like when I'm driving and my son's a bit, I just reach right back there and just like give him a bit of a jiggle on the, dummy falls out of his mouth. Back you go.
Incredible.
Yeah, I can't do that at the same time.
No, I don't know. Unless
So
you're dancing,
handy, mate. Honestly, being able to like nursing the boy and then like reaching all the way over there to get the bottle out of the feeder. I'd love that right now.
Man, all right. Well, let's go get some surgery. All right. Ian Lang asks, you might not want to answer this, but when you were on the gear, could your jaw be classified as a lethal weapon?
Classic Ian. Look.
I will preface this by saying about 20% of the comments were about your jawline.
The thing about when you are on a big TV show or a very highly prolific, whatever it is, thing of very high profile in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, is that you don't ever really find yourself having to buy drugs. They're just there. You're like, good to see you, man. Oh, what's this? You sit down at the table and it's like, oh, hello?
Sweet. Drugs and a heaney. It's the thousands.
Don't mind if I do. So, probably is the answer.
Probably a lethal weapon.
Probably a lethal weapon. Yeah.
Dev Lino Nelly asks, why do my parents argue?
Deb, the thing is that when you're in a long-term relationship, like a traditional heteronormative kind of mother and father, husband and wife situation, and there are kids, there are certain, you got to understand that what got them together and the life that they had when they got together is so far from where you see them today. Okay, so they might have fell in love when like he was a sociology major and she was working at a law firm and they would stay up late at night drinking goon wine talking about this is how we save the world, all property is theft, and then here we are 18 years later and like fuck, she still hasn't left home, the mortgage is this, it's so their life now doesn't have a thing to do with what they were when they got together, all right? And it's very difficult to keep who you are on a path, traveling in the similar line. And the arguments happen in the difference between where they are, okay? So don't worry, if they're arguing, it's probably because, unless they're playing mean, name-calling, rolling their eyes, being condescending, stuff like that, you're pretty safe. They're just working out. The arguments happen in the differences between where they are in their directions, all right? So as long as they're playing nice, it's okay. all right? But when you have the name calling and when you have like being particularly condescending or deliberately mean or plotting or anything like that, then you may want to consider being a grown up and moving out and isolating yourself from that, because it's not going to be healthy for you.
That is way more advice than I expected from that question. All right, so we're going to move into quick questions.
Go.
All right, so this is just 5 quick ones to finish the interview, and then I've got something special for you.
Right on.
All right, who was your childhood hero?
Childhood hero is probably Jake and Elwood Blues.
Oh, from the Blues Brothers. Mm-hmm. Sweet, got my references. What's something that's overrated in your industry?
Something that's overrated in my industry is probably the weight of AM radio broadcasters' opinions.
I feel like you are so close to saying a name and you don't want to.
And certain cable news channels that are produced in Australia's opinions. When you look at the size of their ratings, like 30,000 people watch that. 29,000 of them work in Canberra. Like, it's not Australia. That's not what we as a nation feel.
We'll get more views on this.
So, truly. Yeah. So bear that in mind. I think one of Will Anderson's favourite lines is like, if ever you're having a bad time, remember, I have more Twitter followers than the Daily Telegraph has circulation.
I love that.
So just relax.
I love that
just
so
relax.
much. Cool. Who is a creator that you think should have more recognition right now?
A creator?
Yeah, somebody online.
That I think should have more recognition right now. I'm going to say my musical genius that does all of the music for me, my podcasts, my live shows, a recent keynote that I did, an incredible artist. He's called Toe Hider online. An amazing musician out of Melbourne. He's just one of these people who's just touched by God. He's an incredible, incredible guy. Mike's his actual name. And we share a love of 80s space opera, episodic cartoons. Yeah.
Incredible. Best way to spend $50?
The best way to spend $50. Am I hungry?
Maybe you're not. Let's throw another constraint in.
The best way to spend $50. If you live in Australia, if you're watching this, you've got... So if you're watching this, you have access to the internet, you have a device, you are probably safe, you have time to watch it, so therefore you're probably employed in a job that allows you enough time to do stuff like watch content on the internet. So someone else could probably use that $50 more than you. Use Kiva, for example. Use Kiva and do a little micro lending to someone in Fiji who's trying to buy some kava or something so they can start a little store. Give it that.
Great answer. I love that. Oh man.
It's true though.
I was going to say a new hat. All right. So finish this sentence. The world would be a better place if everyone just
gave other people the benefit of the doubt.
Wow. That is so true.
That motherfucker cut me off. His mum could be sick in hospital and he's trying to race there. Off you go, buddy. I'll give you some room.
Ain't that true?
The world is what we decided to be, Cam.
All right. Well, on that note, there's one thing that I want to tick off my bucket list.
What's that?
So we started this interview by saying that your favourite band was Hanson.
Mm.
And later we mentioned that you played bass guitar and that you loved to jam. I would like to play just a little verse of Mbop with you.
I wish. Have you got a bass?
Right here.
Oh, we're going to do it right here?
Yep.
Oh, I don't remember the chords.
Hey, I'll write them down for you, man.
Oh, yeah, great.
Sweet. Perfect.
I'll tell you what, I'll make up a verse.
Yep.
And then we'll just hit the chorus.
Perfect. All right.
2, 3. No rehearsals.
Yeah, okay.
No rehearsals. 2, 3, 4. Send us something. Oh, you do that part. All right, everybody. Doing an interview with Struthless on his internet show. We drew pictures of each other, never leaving the page. Ooh, yeah. And we're never leaving the page, yeah. With our pens, and we say it, yeah. Bop, 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 doo, bop. Give it, da, da, bop, 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 doo. Oh, bop, 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 doo, bop. Did it, da, da, doo, bop, da, bop, doo, boo.
Thank you so much.
We love you, Sydney.
We love you. Hanson Revival Band, Hanson Tribute Band. Here we are. Cam and Osher. Unreal. Well,
Middle
thanks
of
so much.
nowhere, the Australian Hanson experience.
Yeah, we'll call it middle of somewhere. Thank you so much for watching. That has been my episode of Bad Portraits with Osher Günsberg. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You know, you do you. It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, catch you next time.